Hello, welcome back to Python the easier way. We have talked about the reason why we should learn Python programming language, and we have also looked at the tools that we need in this tutorial to begin to develop codes in Python programming languages. Already we have downloaded the Python software itself. We have also downloaded Visual Studio Code as well as Page. So we are going to start with Python that we have downloaded, the Python software we have downloaded. So how do we launch the Python language? We'll go to our start menu. You can just type in Python to search for it if you are using the kind of operating system that I'm using. Once you type Python, you see the list of files and all that were installed on Python will come out. But what we want to use is this IDLE Python. That is the Integrated Development and Learning Environment. The IDLE is a limited version compared to the Visual Studio Code that we have installed. So normally when you install the Python software, you download and install it, it will naturally come with this IDLE. So even if you have not installed Visual Studio Code, you can use the IDLE to start your development. But as I said earlier, it is limited. It has a lot of limitation. That is why we need the Visual Studio Code. So let's launch our Python IDLE and see how we can start coding immediately. I click on it. Wait for it to load. So we are going to write our first code in Python. We're going to write a very simple code in Python. So here it comes. The IDLE has been loaded. Let me maximize. Look at the IDLE. If you want help on what it is, you can come to help and it will give you a rundown of what the IDLE is all about. The tutorial, in fact even a complete tutorial on how to use the IDLE and all that. So now this is the environment we are going to use this initial time to write our Python language. So you are going to write your first Python language. It's going to be fun. So the first code, as the tradition is to write a code that will display hello world on the screen. It has become a tradition to write codes that display hello world as the first code for anybody that wants to venture into programming. So we are going to write it, and that's in Python. That such a command is print. So I type print. You can see that the color has changed to pink, which means this environment understands that word print. So we are going to tell it to print, that is to display hello world on the screen. So this is the syntax. Okay, you open and close the bracket, and then inside you also have an open and close quote, right? Anything you want it to display, once you put it inside this opening and close quote, it will display it. But look at the syntax very well. Programming is full of syntax. Syntax is the way and manner you write it. If you don't write it correctly, it will show an error message. So look at it. This is the first code you are going to write in Python programming. So I now say hello world. Hello world. Hello world. Okay. Hello world. So this is just what I want the Python programming language to display on the screen. If I press enter now, if there is no error, it will display hello world on the screen. So let's go, let's press enter. Good. Hello world, congratulations, you have written your first Python programming language code. Good. So this shows that the Python interpreter, the Python language is working very well. If it is not working, it will show error when you type something like this and press enter. It would have also shown error if what we are typing is not following the correct syntax, the correct format. So that is our first code. You write this environment is such that once you type in, it's interactive. Once you type in it, it will display your results immediately. Before I continue, let's look at the help here and see. Okay, just to be sure that the IDLE means Python's integrated development and learning environment. So I just want to be sure of that. So that is it. Now the second code we are going to write. The first one display words. The second one is going to do a little of calculation. So let's go. I'm going to type 2 plus 2. 2 plus 2. Of course, you know the answer is supposed to be 4. So if everything is working fine, if I press enter, it should display 4. So I press enter, it displays 4. So this environment now, the IDLE work as if it's a calculator. It just display 4, right? So that is our second code that we have written. Now we are going to write another one. These two codes we have written so far, they are using just a line each. The first one, print hello world, it's just a line of code. The second one, 2 plus 2, is just a line of code. Now we are going to write the one that is more than a line of code. Okay, let's go. I'll now say A equals to 2. I press enter. It has not shown anything because I'm only telling the computer that A equals to 2. So the computer does not know what I want to get out. So I'm only informing the computer. In programming, we say we are assigning 2 to A. Okay? And now say B equals to 3. Okay? I can now say C equals to A plus B. Do you understand the logic now? I've written 3 lines of code this time around. A equals to 2, B equals to 3, and then C now equals to A plus B. So if I tell the computer to print C, what do you expect? It will print 5 because C have been assigned the value of A plus B, which is 2 plus 3. So when I said print, remember the use of the word print. This is the second time we are using the word print. Print. This time around, I'm not going to put what I want it to display in bracket. I'm putting C for it to display the value. You should know the difference between the first line of code we wrote, the first code we wrote, that says print hello world. What I wanted it to print is in quotation form, but this time I want it to express and come out with the value of C. So if I said print C and I put the C in brackets or in quotes, something, if I do something like this, for example, if I do something like this, it will just print out C on the screen. But that is not what I want. I want it to do the calculation and now give me the value of C. So look at it, print C. So let's go. I'll press enter. Wow, you can see it is correct. Why? Because I've assigned 2 to A, 3 to B, and then the sum the addition A plus B, I have assigned it to C. So when I say print C, it gives me that as 5, because 2 plus 3 is 5. So in programming, you will be coming across, things like this, little things like this, little algebra. So don't be afraid that programming involves a lot of mathematics. Not really. It's only basic mathematics. You can use basic mathematics to solve complex problem. You see, like in school, when we are doing arithmetic or algebra in school, you can see a teacher can put a box plus 1 equals to 4, and he said, ask you to fill in the box. A box plus 2 equals to 4. Then it's telling you that box, there should be a value there. Also, that is the kind of form that programming takes. Basic algebra that it uses. So that is how we have been able to write it 3, okay, this time is even 4 line of codes at once. So most of the programming coding you will be doing will involve lines of code, not just one. You have multiple lines of code. Sometimes we'll run into hundreds or even thousands of lines of code. So you have to prepare your mind that we'll be using more lines of code. Can we go to the next thing? So now, this environment I told you is interactive. But what if we want to write very good software, want to do good coding? Are we going to depend on this environment that we just type it, give us the answer? No. We will not depend on this kind of arrangement. So, but this IDLE can help us so that we can write our codes into a particular file and then have it run it for us. So we're going to do that. This last coding we did, we're going to write it into a file. I can use copy and paste to copy into a file, but let's take it gradually. I'm done with that, so let me open a new file. It's a new file. It's untitled. There's no title. This environment is just like a notepad. Of course, you can use notepad. So we type in our codes, the lines of codes I typed in earlier. That is A equals to 2. Press enter. B equals to 3. C equals to A plus B, right? And then we now say print C. So this is how we code in Python. Whenever you want to code, make sure your codes that are related, you can see that A, B, C and all that, they are all related, unlike the one we did before where they were not related. Print hello world was not related to A plus 2 and was not related to the third code we wrote. So this time around, all these codes that we are typing in here, they are related. A, B, C, including the fourth line, they are all related. So we save it as a single file. Okay, it's showing untitled with an asterisk, which means it has not been saved. So we save it as a single file. Save as. Whether you use save or save as, since we are saving for the first time, it will still open the save as dialog box. So we save. So it's taking us here. Where are we going to save the code so that we can easily access it when we need it? It's proper to save in a folder in Drive C. So I go to Drive C. There are a lot of folders there, but let me create a new folder. I click on new folder. So what do I save it? We are talking of mathematics, we are talking of summing something, so you can say my Python maths. Okay, my Python maths. Normally in programming, we try to use initial capital so that we can easily be read. This is the style most people use in programming when they are saving their codes, when they are giving names to a variable. We'll get to understand what a variable is later. So you can see I write it, the first word I don't mind, but subsequent words I use initial cap. So now my Python maths. So the code under consideration that you have written has to do with summing. So I will use sum, which means that I can, put the one for sum, put the one for, write a code for multiply, write a code for divide and all that into this folder, because this folder I call it math. So you can accommodate all of this. So normally when you are working on a project, the name of the folder should reflect the name of a project. What is a project? For example, if you are writing a software, an application that has to do with face recognition, it is just proper you create a folder called face recognition, and all the files of code that you are going to write that has to do with the face recognition will be saved in the face recognition folder, right? In that way, it will be easier for you to arrange your code, because there are projects you do that will have multiple files of code. But like in this one we have done, this is our first file, and as I've said earlier, I give the title of the folder my Python maths, so that even if I want to write other than sum, I want to write for divide, I want to write for multiply, I want to write for minus, subtraction, I can save them here, so long as they are all related to the mathematics project that I'm trying to work on. So we call this sum, and we are saving it as a type Python file. So Python file is appearing first here in the list, and the next one is text file, but we are using Python file. Why Python file is appearing there first is because we are in Python environment. So normally when we are coding, it is expected that we are writing Python codes. So Python file. Normally when we save as Python file, the file will have an extension called py, so .py, right? So whether I use Python files or I just put .py, it's the same thing. So even if I don't put .py, when it is saved, it will automatically add .py to it. Py is the short form of Python. That is how our IDE, our editor, and even the Python compiler or interpreter will know that this particular file is a Python file. So we call it sum. That is the name, and we are going to save it in this my Python maths. So I open the my Python maths folder and I now save it in there. Sum, I've saved it in there. So you can now see the name of the file, python.py. I told you that it will automatically add py since it's a Python file, and you can see where I've saved it to under C in the folder called my Python maths. So the name of that file, this file in consideration, is sum.py. okay, so we're now going to run it. All you need to do is to go to run and click on run module, or you press F5. So programming codes that we develop in Python are referred to as module. Like this one we have just saved is also a module. So once you click on F5, it will run. Okay, let's go. Yeah, you can see it has run it and it has given us the answer 5. If you look at this, it's running the file called sum.py, which is in my Python maths, which is in drive C, right? This is in drive C. So this is how we run codes in Python. This is how we develop codes in Python, and as well as any other language. So you go to the editor or the IDE, you type in your codes or lines of codes, and then you save it, and thereafter you run it. So we are just using this IDLE as a starter to show you that Python software instead comes with an editor, an IDLE, but subsequently we will be using Visual Studio Code, which has better features than the IDLE that comes with Python programming language software. Here you can always close it and open it and run it as normal. Let's close. If we can start it again, the Python IDLE. And this time around, we just go to the file we have saved, or you go to recent files. This is the most recent one we've done. Here it comes again. So each time you want to run it, you can just run it, and then the answer will come. If you want to do adjustment to this, you can still make adjustment to this. I can say print, for example, A. I've made adjustments, and then I will save the changes that I've done by clicking save or Ctrl S, and then I say run. When I run again, it's showing me two things, 5 and then 2. Why? Because I have two prints there. The first print is to show me C, which is A plus B, and the second print is to show me the value of A, which I assigned here as 2. So thank you very much. We'll now be going into Visual Studio subsequently, and then we are going to also use the page to do a kind of drag and drop graphic user interface that will be very, very beautiful and easier, as well as simple for us to use as beginners as well as professional. Thank you. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up. Click on the subscribe button to subscribe to our channel, and click notification bell for more of our videos when available. Thank you.